very good evening to you on this 12th day of June 2023. Trust you're doing well. We have so much lined up for you tonight. But first, let's take a look at our top stories tonight. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua intensifies the fight against illicit booze and drug abuse in his third regional convention in Tharaka Nithi County. Committee investigating Shakahola deaths to visit Nyanza in the western region as Shakahola death toll hits 284. ESCC launches a 5-day anti-graft workshop in Mombasa County to address the prevalent issue of corruption in the procurement sector. And the Billie Jean King Cup Africa Group 3 tournament begins today at the Nairobi Club. Alright, SAMMY OKELLO is our sign language interpreter tonight. My name is ODIDA, and remember, we are streaming this broadcast live on our social media platforms at KUTV_Kenya. Let's get started. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called for enhanced collaboration between all stakeholders led by the security sector and criminal justice system to end the menace of alcohol and substance abuse. The DP has today convened the third regional meeting for the Upper Eastern region at Kirubia Stadium in Tharaka Nithi County that brought together leadership from the national government, county government, administrators and security officers to firm up approach in the region.
Kenya Kwanza government led by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has vowed to stay firm in the war against manufacturing, using, selling and abuse of illicit and substance use. Gachagua has confirmed the serious crisis of substance abuse and addiction of national police officers during an Eastern Region conference in Tharaka Nithi.
It is true we have a serious addiction within the National Police Service. It is true we have had many suicides arising out of addiction and depression. It is true officers have shot each other because of addiction and depression. We need, as a force, to deal with it. And one of the ways is that admission by the county commander, so that those officers who are past being stopped and have become patients can be rehabilitated.
Gachagua has asked members of parliament to play an oversight role for the government and help in the war against substance abuse.
What we're asking the members of parliament here is to oversight. Oversight for us. Waangalie, sasa nikitoka hapa patusi utanipatia report. That's all I need from you. Hiyo peke yake inatosha. Ukimaliza kuniambia what's going on, waambie professor, uachie hapo. Leave the rest to us.
However, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki, who was also in attendance, said that the government is running a license review to check on the alcohol manufacturers that have started parallel organizations to make illegal substances and revoke their licenses.
I want to agree with the presenter from NACADA that many of the licensees who are genuinely licensed are subcontracted their production to others, and they are some of the either know that they are legitimately using under their license is being used to concoct other things that are substandard and unhealthy.
Cabinet Secretary for Investments, Trade and Industry Moses Kuria, during a speech at the conference, termed any alcohol past 50 milliliters sold below 250 shillings as illicit. Kuria promised to publish the price of alcohol with KRA from time to time.
If you find any wine and spirit, 250 milliliters, being sold less than 250 shilling, that is illicit. Because tumefanya hesabu, mimi na KRA, and we know the cost structure. So hiyo pombe yote unakuta ikiuzwa less than 250 shillings, ujue ni illicit, that person should be treated as a suspect.
This was the third conference on fight against substance abuse chaired by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The conference was attended by community leaders together with other politicians from the 8 counties of the Eastern region. Salma Swaleh, KUTV.
Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, KISM, has today launched a 5-day workshop in Mombasa County, aiming to address the prevalent issue of corruption in procurement sector. The workshop, with the theme Enhancing Ethics in Public Procurement, has been organized in partnership with the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, the regulatory body responsible for overseeing the procurement profession in Kenya. Michael Macharia-Njeri, alias DJ Brownskin, has been charged with aiding suicide after he was captured in a video watching his wife die after taking poison at their home in Nairobi. The DJ is also charged with destroying evidence where he is alleged to have knowing that his mobile phone number, which was in his possession, might be required in evidence in a judicial proceeding, willfully removed it with intent to prevent being used in evidence. Brownskin, however, pleaded not guilty to the charges and has been detained for 3 days pending a probation report. The accused was arrested on June 1, 2023 in connection with his late wife's death. And away from that, Mount Kenya legislators have jumped in the middle of farmers' cry to push for amendment of laws on farming within the region. The leaders claim that the existing laws make it difficult for farmers to benefit from their produce by inducing limitations and punitive measures. The leaders are now calling for quick review and amendment of the laws to come to the aid of unhappy farmers.
Water at that way.
A section of Mount Kenya legislators have flagged concerns on farmers' plea over neglect, mistreatment and faulty laws. The leaders are up to push for amendments of the existing laws that they claim to hinder farmers' productivity by overlooking the farmers' welfare.
Ni sheria ililetwa na Munya. Munya alileta sheria akaachia watu ambao ni mabrokers wenye hawajui hata mti ya kahawa inakaa aje. Hao ndo watu wenye kahawa. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio sheria tunabadilisha. Hii sheria ingine ya afa ya kwingine, hiyo ni sheria ambayo inahitaji implementation 100%.
Speaking at Karao Catholic Church in Manyata constituency, Embu County, the chair of Senate Agriculture Committee, James Marango, noted that some laws only seem to regulate crops grown around Mount Kenya forest. Murango said that the Kafi bill at the Senate will protect farmers to own their produce from the farm to the last bit of the value chain. The Kirinyaga senator added that the new law will allow farmers to market their own coffee, therefore bypassing the brokers.
Lazima tuangalia kwamba mkulima atakuwa ni mwenye kahawa toka achune mpaka iuzwe. Sasa hivi mkulima unakuja kupata yeye ni mwenye kahawa tu wakati anapeleka kwa milling, wakati kabla hajapeleka kwa milling. Akipeleka kwa mila ikito parchment anapoteza kuwa yeye ndio mwenye hiyo kahawa. Na hapo ndo ukora inaanzia. Unasikia kuna kitu wanaita milling losses. Ati wakati wa kusaga kahawa almost kahawa 36% inapotea.
Tabling the complaints of the farmers at grassroots, Manyata MP Gitonga Mukunji accused the government of interfering with the macadamia farming by partially enforcing the law on the sale of unprocessed macadamia. He noted that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has failed to affect the AFA Act that recognizes Growers Association who can negotiate on behalf of the members.
Mimi najua maneno ya ukulima tutanyorosha. Ile shida ilikuwa kubwa ni kwamba tumekuwa na watu ambao wako katikati ya shida za kahawa na majani, na bado wao ndio tunaambia watutatulie mashida yetu.
The leaders, however, expressed optimism that if necessary changes are adopted, the table will turn for farmers and the issues dodging the sectors will be solved to increase production and stabilize income generation. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, on his just concluded Kafi summit in Meru, promised to implement KUTV reforms to enable farmers increase their income from the crop. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
Police in Nyahururu have arrested a woman who has been selling bang from her homestead after they received a tip-off from residents about an unusual number of youths seen going in and out of her home, which instigated a raid that led to the nabbing of bang worth 150,000 Kenya shillings, together with special rolling papers for the drug. This comes after the fight against drug abuse among youths in the country, especially in the Mount Kenya region, was recently launched. Nyahururu Deputy County Commissioner Muthike Ndambuki has urged peddlers to refrain and venture into legal businesses.
Tu yetu ni kuambia wananchi watafute biashara nyingine, waachane hii biashara ya kuharibu vijana, kwa sababu vijana wakunja hii bangi ndio kwanza inachangia mambo ya crime kwenda juu. Na tungeombea wale ambao wanaouza hii bangi, huyo imepatikana kwa madam na ndiye mwenyewe, so waachane hii biashara, washika biashara nyingine ambayo inaweza kuleta maendeleo. Vijana wakivuta bangi hakuna kitu kingine, wanatusumbua hapa sokoni wakipiga watu wengine geta na wizi wengine kidogo kidogo.
President William Ruto has stated that Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan and Somalia are working together to restore normalcy in Sudan, which has been facing insecurity crisis. President Ruto spoke during the IGAD ordinary session in Djibouti, said that the four nations are willing to meet with the representatives of the Sudan generals and discuss issues on how to restore normalcy in the country and also to extend humanitarian aid to those in need. Ruto says that a face-to-face engagement with the generals is essential for the discussion on solving the crisis.
We have taken the decision that the quartet of Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Somalia will, in the next 10 days, meet face-to-face with General Burhan and General Dagalo in a face-to-face engagement so that we can speak to them directly on behalf of IGAD with a view of stopping the war that is raging in Sudan. We have also agreed that in the next 2 weeks we will discuss with the generals on providing a humanitarian corridor so that humanitarian support can be made available to those in need. In the next 3 weeks, we also begin the process of an inclusive national dialogue to get the people of Sudan the opportunity for them to discuss in their diversity the issues of their country. We have taken the decision.
All right, that brings us to a very fast short break right here at KUTV Primetime News. Of course, so much more lined up for you. Stay with us.
Maisha ni haya mwanaume ali. Sielewi yani hata neno moja. Yani tunasikia maboko likolo. Yani ukiniangalia tu huyu mwamba huyu anafiti sehemu fulani. Wewe inakaa. Without your love, I can't move on. Yo, that's our boy Rhino the Don. Keep watching and listening to KUTV.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before,
So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called Security Breach Detector and Can Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosive.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Koruzi ya kilimo huimarisha afya na uchumi endelevu katika jamii. Ni msingi mkubwa wa kipindi Boresha Kilimo. Kipindi hiki kinajikita katika teknolojia ya kisasa, utafiti na ushirikishaji wa wadau wa kilimo kuonyesha shughuli mbalimbali shambani. Kwa suluhu ya utoshelevu wa chakula, tazama Boresha Kilimo.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalunukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have box exercise, we'll have kata box, just every Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. Keep it locked, make sure we keep fit, and that's it from me to you.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching KUTV Prime Time News, and it's time for a discussion of the night. And of course, we are still talking about the finance bill. We'll call it the controversial finance bill, which has indeed elicited mixed reactions since that bill, the proposed bill, was presented before Parliament, and that was on 4th April, if I'm not wrong. And now tonight I'm being joined by a certified public accountant, that is Robert Mabea, who is a member of public finance and taxation at ISPAC. Karibu sana, Robert, to KUTV.
Thank you.
All right, now last time we had a member from ISPAC as well.
Right.
And he was called Wycliffe from
CP
your
Wycliffe,
team.
yeah.
Yes. And Wycliffe mentioned to us that as ISPAC, you had presented a couple of recommendations before Parliament. Now that we see the team of members of Parliament of the Finance Committee that had converged in Naivasha to talk about this finance bill, and we've seen a couple of amendments have been made. A couple. So, as ISPAC, have your needs been met?
As clearly you have indicated, we are waiting. We only see this in the news that there are a couple of considerations. And I guess this is the first time in Kenya that the Parliamentary Committee in charge of finance and budgeting has received over 1,000 proposals from the public. That tells you, unlike previous years, hardly they used to receive anything more than 100 proposals. So that tells you that it's high time. Kenyans have said we want to understand what is happening. Besides that, straight to your question, is whether our expectations have been met or not. A little bit, yes, but we are waiting to see what the committee will give out, as they have clearly indicated, awaiting confirmation that especially the housing levy, there's a proposal that to be reduced from 3% to 1.5%, and that is going to be paid by the employee, not the employer. So that a little bit, it eases the costs on the employer side. There are also other expectations that we are also looking forward for consideration, especially on petroleum products, by virtue of increasing the VAT from 8% to 16%. We are hoping that they will be able to maintain it, at least to ensure that the mamambogas and everybody, the border guys will be able to survive, because we live in hard times. As much as we are working on the recovery from COVID, we hope they will be able to consider and probably postpone the proposal, maybe another 12 months also.
All right, now speaking about these petroleum products,
right.
These considerations have been made yesterday, and the 16% VAT on petroleum products have been upheld.
Yes.
Do you think there's still room to have them change that, now that they've changed? The digital content creators are now, the 15% have been reduced to 5%. And now the housing levy 3% to 1.5%. There are also waivers on agricultural products, motorcycles, but these 16% VAT on petroleum products have been upheld. Do you think there's room?
There's still room, and I guess this rests to the parliamentarians in Parliament who will also move, because this is still a bill until it is passed by voting, and the voting is going to be done per proposal, not the entire bill. One vote is by proposal. I guess the parliamentarians have the right time, once it is going to be presented next week, not this week, they will be able to do the voting and probably make recommendations or revert back again to the committee for consideration. There's still room for change.
All right, now, Steve, let's come back to the 3% housing levy.
Right.
It's being reduced from 3% to 1.5%. Is this going to be really of significance?
It is. If you check, especially from the employer side, having that recently we had an increase on NHIF, NSSF in terms of contribution from the employer side, and this is going to be reduced if at all they are going to implement the 3%. Now it is now 1.5%, and this is going to be borne by the employee, not the employer. And in any case, the housing is for the benefit of the employee, not the employer. So in a way, it relieves the employer from cash flow constraints as much as the cost of production, especially the manufacturers and everybody. It's going to be hard time.
All right, but is it really going to meet the government's target to create affordable houses for Kenyans? And as the government says, this housing levy is meant to create job opportunities for Kenyans. It being reduced to 1.5%, are they really going to meet this target?
From my end, the housing project is not a one-term. project that is going to be implemented within 5 years. It's a long-term project that will last for as many as you may live, or this country will be living. So the issue at hand is that the government needs to come up with a budget that will be able to interrogate it, to confirm whether, in terms of target, if they are probably planning to build like 5,000 units per year, and then we will interrogate in terms of costing. And if it's a low cost value, yes, they may also opt to invite more investors on the same and give tax relief on the same so that they are able to achieve their targets. But with the reduction, I'm not very sure whether they will be able to achieve their targets, because there is a lot of logistics involved in terms of building these raw housing units. Yeah.
But what about these Kenyans and leaders who want these housing levy to be made voluntary?
When you look at it keenly, it's more of a technical. Yes, we have absolute percentage of the population that lives in slums, for example, who have no house, what we can classify as a house, with the basic necessities on the same. They need help from the government. They need to have better housing as such, like any other Kenyans, which is enshrined in the Constitution as a right on the same. The challenge is that when you compare everybody, like for example, if for instance you have a house currently, maybe you are servicing a mortgage, why should again the government ask you to contribute again for another house? In any case, you are straining, for example, to service the mortgage. So that is more of appears like a double taxation, or it will affect your cash flow on the same. So if the government can consider having it voluntary, and also consider the age, somebody who is retiring the next 5 years, why should he be contributing to housing levy in any case? Also, from our end, propose that if they will consider maybe starting off afresh as a project, anybody who is unemployed below 25 years, you will be able to realize the benefit of the intended housing project.
All right, I guess as the government puts it, we will be able to see this in the next 7 years, which they also say that if somebody doesn't rent a house, they will get back their savings. I don't know how possible that will be.
I guess if you check the proposals, is that part of the bill, content of the bill is that it has been deferred like for 1 year to 2024 for implementation purposes. And the only objective is to ensure there is clear guidelines on what happens to those savings, if there is any interest and how much, and what will happen to that interest in terms of withdrawal. Are you supposed to withdraw including your employer contribution, or you surrender to the government? So we're looking forward to getting more clarity from the government in terms of guidelines on the management of it, and even set up a body that will be in charge of that project on the same. So that's why they have given out a span of like another 1 year to reconsider for implementation. All those issues will be addressed. Yeah.
All right, now let me bring you back. As the Institute for Certified Public Accountants in Kenya, that is ISPAC,
right.
What is your role from you in this finance bill? How do you chip in?
As the institute, especially as a committee for public finance and taxation, our main role is to advise the government. For example, we look at the proposal to the government and do the public assessment, how they are going to affect the taxpayers, especially in terms of registration. And we make a recommendation what we feel should be the right thing to be done with respect that the government needs to generate revenue for its survival. So we always provide proposals to Treasury for consideration on the same. Yeah.
For this Finance Bill 2023, are there a couple of recommendations or amendments that you would want to be done apart from the ones that have already been made?
Yes, like for instance, one, the issue of the VAT is still a contentious issue. We propose that if still there is room, they can consider retaining the 8% as we allow the economy to keep on growing or keep on improving. Maybe another 1 year, and then we start implementing in phases as well. Number two, there are also other contentious issues, like for example, export of services, whereby they have exempted instead of zero rating. Exemption means that if you invoice your client for the services that you already say in Uganda, all the associated costs that you have been billed as input and you have been charged for VAT, you cannot be able to claim that. That makes it a bit expensive than making zero rating on the same. And then again, even fertilizer and other farm equipment, which they have exempted, that does not make it cheaper. It makes it even more expensive because they are associated costs that or inputs that have been charged VAT as a result. That does not make that product being cheaper. The best thing they could have done is to zero rate them, just to ensure that the end cost that you incur as an input for production of the same, or they say the maize and all this farming, this transport, which has the VAT, the taxpayer is able to claim back the VAT content. That will make the price to come down. By exemption, it's not an outright that the price is going to be cheaper as such. So we are looking at the review. Some of the items that have pushed, especially farm agricultural products or inputs, which they have exempted, we consider if they can consider them to be zero rated, just to ensure to make it cheaper on the same. Yes.
And should they not look into maybe your recommendations? What do you intend on doing as ISPAC?
We are limited. You know, you can only advise the government, but you cannot force the government to implement. In any case, we also say the government needs to collect the revenue because they have the current expenditure, which is consuming 75% of the correction of the budget. Though that leaves the government in a tight corner. For instance, if you check the current debt, it's expected by June end of this 2023, it will go up to even 11.3 or 5 trillion on the same from 9 trillion that currently we have. That tells you there are certain loans that are going to mature, which now the government has to pay at the cost, able to pay for both domestic borrowing and external borrowings on the same. So that means that you may be forced to service those loans. So they could stick to the proposals, especially on the VAT, because the easier way of collecting revenue is by charging VAT. VAT is collected at the point of consumption, like other taxes. It's the easier way of collecting taxes.
All right. Now, there are clauses. There are leaders who have said that there's some clauses in the finance bill that are violating the Constitution. Case in point, the Busia Senator, that is Okello Mtata. Are you of the same opinion now as a government advisor in regards to the finance bill?
Yes, there are some, like the housing. There must be an absolute registration on the same. And that's why I think the government has gone ahead and given a relief, for example, for 1 year to ensure that all those clauses within the Constitution and other subsidiary registrations have been taken into before the implementation. So the government is ahead of that.
All right. Now, I want us to wind up this conversation on the finance bill. But maybe if you could tell us what are you maybe doing more as ISPAC to make this finance bill that Kenyans could understand it, because it has been already made critical to them. Are you doing anything really as ISPAC?
To start with, that's why I'm here, just to ensure that we tell the public what exactly. And it's for the first time, as I mentioned, that the Committee for Budget, that is Parliamentary Finance and Budgeting, has received more than 1,000 proposals. First time in history. And like the previous years, they received hardly 100 proposals. That tells you that there's a lot of lobbying that's being done, including direct to the MPs, just to ensure that all those issues that might affect the survival of taxpayers and Kenyans. And for instance, the government is also keen just to ensure that it opens up the tax base. For instance, We have Kenyans, for example, an average population for Kenya is 45 million, but we only have active taxpayers of 3 million. That tells you there is imbalance. That's why the government has gone ahead, as much as how punitive it is, to bring in the issue of turnover tax and extend the tax base. For instance, anybody earning between 500,000 to 15 million now will be required to pay tax. That means anybody earning around 1,500 shillings per day, you need to pay the turnover tax on the same. So again, that tells you that the high chances that the government will be able to collect more revenue. The only part is the administrative part, just to ensure that there is efficiency, and then widening of the tax base by ensuring everybody is paying tax on board as well. So it's also a positive move to ensure that everybody pays tax. As much as we say there's Mama Mboga and the rest, this time everybody is going to pay tax on the same.
But there have been also debates that people are indeed paying taxes, and a couple of Kenyans think they're being overtaxed now at the moment. Are they really? Is there hope for that the mwananchi now in mashinani right now? Yes, with all this taxation, the Kenyans think they're being overtaxed right now. Is there hope really?
I think to start with, how that confidence can be created before tax is not bad, for instance. It's a good thing, and especially when we are talking about public utilities. If we can have affordable services, like healthy services, you walk into Kenyatta Hospital, you walk into the district hospital, sub-district hospital, and you have the medicine without paying a penny by virtue of the fact that you are NHIF registered, or there are free services. There is road network to ensure there is movement of goods and services across the country and by export. I don't think whether there's anybody who will complain about taxes. The only problem we have in Kenya is a situation whereby in a news bulletin, like 9 today, there has been a scandal of 15 billion. 10 billion, somebody has disappeared with it. And then with the shortest time, somebody is arrested, and after like 6 months, it's abandoned. It's pardoned by the same. So we really keep on worrying, like what exactly happened. That discourages, and that makes it more expensive for some taxpayers to feel that they are paying taxes with no value. So maybe the Kenya Kwanza government will be able to look into it, issues to do with corruption, just to ensure that they create confidence in the taxpayers. Yeah. Now,
with this, when the legislatures, the members of parliament, decide to engage public, that is public participation on this finance bill, do you really think that the opinions that Kenyans are giving them in regards to this finance bill really matter? Are they really going to put it into consideration?
It matters a lot, but at the end of the day, at parliament, the only option is voting. So if there is any roping that to be done, it has to be done within parliament, just to ensure that they vote per proposal. And then the contentious issues or proposals, they are reverted back to the committee for consideration with fresh proposals on what can be done better than what they have proposed. Yeah.
All right, Robert, now we are winding up, and that is your camera, as I told you earlier.
Yes.
I want you to tell us something about just this finance bill as we wind up, your parting shot on the finance bill.
I want to tell Kenyans that not everything in the finance bill that is wrong. There are also other good proposals that have come in, especially as taxpayers. And as a tax expert, there is a relief if, for instance, you have tax arrears, there is an element of penalties and interest, you're going to get a waiver if so long as that is paid within as proposed. There are also other good proposals on the same. In any case, if we need development, it means Kenyans, we must have to uphold and come up with an option of paying taxes, not to backside everything that is wrong and the entirety of the finance bill that is wrong. There are good things in the finance bill. If we had more time, we would go one by one, and we shall be able to unbundle everything that is there. So we itemize what is good and what we feel should have some proposals for change. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robert, for making time for us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Right, you will know that this finance bill, the conversation around this finance bill is not ending anytime soon, and that it will be tabled in Parliament tomorrow, that is on Tuesday, and the second reading of the bill on the floor of the House is expected on Wednesday after the approval of the House Business Committee. And we will still be continuing the conversation on the finance bill. We want to break it down for you as our viewer and to let you know what is in your best interest in regards to this finance bill. We are taking another short break at this point. Of course, so much more lined up for you. Stay with us.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Hello, everybody! I'm Nana. And I'm Gigi. Welcome to Engine Season 2. The place to find out about the world we live in and the creatures that we share our planet with. Join us on the most exciting adventures across the African continent. See breathtaking wildlife, stunning landscapes, and out of this world technologies. Meet incredible scientists and learn fantastic facts. Explore, discover, be amazed. Be part of the next generation of African change makers. Be a part of Engine, Africa's #1 science discovery program. Yay!
We're learning every day. Engine leads the way.
Apologies for that. Of course, we will be bringing in sports news later on. But first, let's now continue with a section of our coverage. Now, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim SUPKEM has today appeared before the Senate Ad Hoc Committee, chaired by Tana River Senator Dunstan Mungatana, to look into regulation proposals of religious organizations. The SUPKEM chairman Hassan Olinado has issued an outcry claiming that the government is favoring Christians over Muslims. This is in regard to the case of controversial televangelist Paul Mackenzie of the Goodwill International Church linked to the deaths in Shakahola village that have today hit 284.
Mr. Chair, when we therefore say Muslims know and understand the dangers of extremist religious teachings, it is because we have lived through it. and have suffered consequences of it because apart from hard power approaches employed by the government, the state has also went ahead to employ and deploy various soft power approaches to comprehensively and decisively deal with religious extremists blamed on Islam. This prejudiced attitude has left questions among Muslims if indeed the government sees us as equal citizens.
We've been to Kilifi, we've met, we've gone to Shakahola, we've met religious people, we have come here, we have met religious people. We are going to go to other parts of Kenya because we are told some of the people who went there were not from there. So we are going to visit, and we are in a listening mood, and we also want to hear what the people, especially important people of your caliber, are saying.
A Christian to regulate Islam, I don't think he'll be in a position to know the details of the doctrine and the creed of that religion. So what we're saying is each religion should have their own controls and checks. It should have their own regulatory mechanism and to be given that space to operate on those terms and guidelines.
Residents of Laikipia County came together through a workshop that was held in a Nyanyuki hotel, which aimed at creating awareness on matters gender equality as well as dealing with gender-based violence through socio-economic development. This was brought about by a realization that most people lack knowledge on these topics, bringing together stakeholders from education and religious sectors, as well as the youth and community-based organization.
A seminar was held in Nanyuki Hotel, whose main aim was to educate people on how to deal with gender-based violence and also promote gender equality. Ms. Karen Kyogoria, who is the gender coordinator of Laikipia, echoed that most people have little to no knowledge on these issues. As a result, she urged people to be open-minded and shift the existing mentality on matters gender roles.
We realize that many think gender is GBV, which is not right. And therefore, we are trying to sensitize them to appreciate that gender is about roles and that roles change with the time. And therefore, if one is able to undertake roles that was in earlier days undertaken by the other gender, they should not see it as an issue, but appreciate and complement each other.
According to the director of Mukugudo Girls Empowerment Program in Laikipia, Josephine Dirias, even though there are noticeable changes for women empowerment in the society through accessing education, in-depth adherence to culture within Laikipia North is still upheld. She noted that there are specific roles that are still solely associated with one gender, so that if done by the other gender, it is considered a taboo. Therefore, it is a major setback in the fight against gender-based violence.
But where we are now, women are coming out, at least they are able to access education, but still they don't have the voice simply because they are women. But when it comes to responsibilities in the family, they are changing because you can see now women are being able to put food on the table. They are able to access education, but still the respect is not where we want it to be.
On matters of equality and inclusion, Persons with Disability Representative Ms. Valentine Kireita expressed gratitude for the inclusion in the Gender Technical Working Group in Laikipia County. She said that more often than not, people with disabilities often feel left out because the society does not fully include them in their endeavors, which makes them receive little to no recognition, therefore contributing to the challenges they are facing.
We have challenges when it comes to gender mainstreaming because persons with disabilities are mostly affected. We can say they are double affected because most of the time the facilities are not accessible. Also, we find that it is hard for our community to recognize persons with disabilities.
More workshops across the country are deemed instrumental in creating awareness on gender equality and war against gender-based violence. Ivy Bina, KUTV.
Now, menstrual stigma has been a major concern in the country, especially in the ASL areas. In Kilifi County, the stigma goes deep as menstruation is associated with a range of traditional myths that suggest it's a taboo for a girl to associate with others during her cycle. However, the narrative is slowly changing with the emergence of different programs advocating for menstrual awareness.
Menstrual poverty has severally been named as the prime contributor of teenage pregnancies across various ASL areas. In Kilifi County, menstruation has been associated with traditional myths that contribute further to school dropouts. Zainab Wanje, a 16-year-old girl from Danicha village in the county, tells us that lack of sanitary towels comes with its own fair share of challenges, which prompts the girls to look for other means.
Na challenges nyingi sana zimekuwa zipata wasichana, especially hao wenye wamekuwa adolescent, wakiwa the time wakiwa matured. Kuna challenges nyingi zenye huwa anapitia, kama kukosa hizi pads kama vile nimesema. Hiyo huwa inasababishia msichana kuhangaika na kwenda kutafuta msaada kwingine.
Gloria Mwadzoya from Moraka in Chonyi sub-county adds that apart from the myths associated with menstruation, menstrual illiteracy also contributes to stigma, noting that most of the girls do not know how to use the sanitary towels.
Zenye hawaelewi mambo ya hedhi ni nini. Kwa mfano, wengine wanajua tu mtu akiwa kwa hedhi hafai kufanya shughuli zingine kama kupika, na ndio tumeona siku ya leo tuje tuwaelimishe, tuwafundishe jinsi ya kutumia. Hata wengine hawatumii, hawajui kutumia, wengine wamezoea tu kutumia piece of cloth.
Gloria further states that the lack of sustainable sanitary towels has led to the rise in school dropouts among girls.
Na ile piece of cloth inamsababisha mtu haendi shule, sababu ile ukikaa after some time ina stain. Sasa msichana anaona aibu kwa niende shule na darasa limejaa wanaume, wavulana, walimu, anaona aibu kwa ile akistain atachekwa.
In a bid to eradicate the stigma and poverty associated with menstruation, different organizations have chipped in to sensitize the community on menstrual hygiene by involving opinion leaders, as well as urging male parents to actively involve themselves in their children's health for safety.
Given that the taboos are attributed to our culture as Mijikenda, so we have been able to engage the Kaya elders, we have been able to engage the service providers, we have been able to engage the religious leaders in different forums, as well as creating awareness basically on this taboo.
Ni mpaka sisi wazazi wa kiume jamani tushikane na hawa watoto wetu ili hii shughuli iwe shughuli kama shughuli ya kawaida.
While menstruation's poverty remains to be a major issue in the society, different organizations continue to take part in eradicating the menace with the hope of reducing teenage pregnancies. Ruth Wanjiru for KUTV.
Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen and Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga flagged off the first direct flight from Wilson Airport, Nairobi to Kabunde Airstrip in Homa Bay County today. According to Renegade Air Flight Company, the airline plans to add more planes in the route in the coming months. The new route will provide a much-needed link between Nairobi and the Lake Victoria region by making air travel more accessible and affordable for people in the region. Governor Wanga on her part noted that the launch of Renegade Air's new route is a positive development for Kenya's aviation industry. All right, now in the world of sports, the Billie Jean King Cup Africa Group 3 tournament hosted in Kenya has officially kicked off today at the Nairobi Club. The tournament grand opening ceremony was presided over by Sports and Youth Affairs Cabinet Secretary Babu Namwamba and the Tennis Kenya Federation Chairman James Kenani. The tournament that is set to run from June 12 to 17 brings together 12 African countries.
Thank you very much.
Kenya, which hosted the tournament last in 1995 when it was called the Fed Cup, becomes the first African country to host the Billie Jean King Cup. Sports and Youth Affairs Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba confirmed that the government of Kenya, through the Talanta Hela initiative, is determined to take the sports to professional levels.
You, President of the Federation, together with the whole leadership of your Federation, and really applaud the amazing work that the Federation is doing. Let me also acknowledge the leadership of the Nairobi Club that are playing host to this event for not only playing host, but investing considerable resources to ensure that we have the facilities that are sufficient and of the right international standard to host this event. Asanteni sana, both the club and the Federation.
In the first day of the tournament, Wimbledon junior doubles champion Angela Okutoi won her singles rubber by 7 sets to 5 and 6 sets to 3 to force the tie against Morocco's Malak El Alami into a decisive doubles rubber. In the doubles rubber, Okutoi partnered with Cynthia Wanjala to beat Morocco's Aya El Aouni and Yasmin Kabaj by 2 sets to 1. Kenya, which kicked off the event against top seed Morocco, is in Pool A alongside Morocco, Botswana, Nigeria, Namibia, and Uganda. Pool B brings together second-seeded Tunisia, Ghana, Burundi, Zimbabwe, Mauritius, and Seychelles. The government, through the Ministry of Sports, has donated 10 acres of land to the Tennis Federation of Kenya for the construction of world-class tennis courts. The CS also presented a sponsorship of 22.3 million Kenya shillings to the event organizers. With the competition underway, Team Kenya will be eyeing a spot at the top as winners of both pools are set to fight for a ticket to compete in the Euro Africa Group 2 competition in 2024. Hassan Yusuf, KUTV.
Strathmore Lears raised hell over their opponents Menengai Cream in the Embu 7 circuit final by humiliating them with a 26-0 scoreline to clinch the 7th title in a match played at the Jukiri Showgrounds, Embu, on Sunday evening. Menengai Cream hunt for revenge from last year's 1912 defeat to Strathmore Lears. In a repeat, Embu 7's final ended in utter disappointment. Menengai Zuri secured third place after beating Catholic Monks 1912 in the playoffs. Attention now shifts to the Kenya 7 circuit, with all the teams being fired up for a showdown. All right, finally, Novak Djokovic finally registered his name in the history books as one of the greatest players in the world of tennis after lifting his 23rd men's Grand Slam in his French Open's triumph held in Paris. The 36-year-old becomes the first man to lift 23 Grand Slam titles and breaks his tie record with arch rival Rafael Nadal winning 22 Grand Slams. Djokovic becomes the oldest player to win the French Opens, and his career seems to flourish even more in old age after lifting 11 Grand Slam titles, despite having attained the age of 30 years. All right. right, that's a wrap for KUTV Prime Time News. Thank you so much for staying with us. And remember, this conversation does not end here. We are live still on our social media platforms at KUTV_Kenya. We can always continue this conversation. My name is ODIDA. I'm in the company of SAMMY. OKELLO is our sign language interpreter tonight. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.